everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, it's very good, and I'm really happy to have Trovarsi here with us. Hello, welcome, and thank you so much for saying yes to my invitation of this crazy idea I had. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. So wait a second. I'm actually gonna mute YouTube because I just heard myself. That's not nice. So before starting with all the questions and then just focus 100% on you, our guest, my guest, I want to just make clear one little thing, and is that I'm doing this because sometimes in the industry we focus most of the time on the brand and the gear, and it's really cool to share all this technical stuff and knowledge, but at the same time we don't talk so much about the person. Like, that becomes more like, that's how we became friends though, and that's how I made friends with other people. And then you realize, like, oh, actually you like pasta, I like pasta, we like have other crazy ideas that we share. So that's the whole point when I actually want to do this and want to share all this like personal stuff about my friends and in this case, you as an artist, your career, your personal life. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And the first question is I think it's very basic, but we are all from a big, like, we come from very different places. So I would like to ask you, where are you from? Where do you live? And where do you grow up?
Oh, okay. Originally, I am from Madison, Wisconsin, which is located in the Midwest. Right now, I live in Southern California. I've lived here for a while now. I moved to California in 2003, right there, 2003, 4. I know time. That's one thing about, I've lived on both coasts, and living here is so hard to keep track of time because there's no real big season to, differentiate like the time change. Like when I was a kid and I lived in Wisconsin, we had winter. So clearly it was like, okay, the year is ending. You have this staple thing that kind of happens. And here it's like, it's sunny and it's less sunny, and you know what I mean? Like, yes. Maybe rainy or dreary a little bit, but for the most part it's pretty sunny. So it's like everything starts to blend together.
Yeah, and I guess in LA also, when I was there, I felt like time, it's same in Berlin, but in LA was even crazier because of like you had to drive everywhere, and it's super huge city. So like time passes really quickly. Extremely quickly.
I lived in DC before, and like I remember visiting here many years ago. Before that, I'm older than people think, and I was like, I will never live here. There's too much driving, and I was like, this place is terrible. And like, I guess you never say never, because here I am. This is the longest place I've lived. I mean, aside from my childhood, you don't really pick that. You're just born where you're born. But this place is like the longest place I've lived, like voluntarily. So it's sort of ironic, that I was like, I hate it there. I'll never live there.
That's not good news for me, because I'm like the same with Berlin. I'm already living here almost 3 years, and and I never wanted to leave here. So let's see how that goes now.
Yeah. No, HR terror was like looking at the mountains. Oh yeah, I guess if you go to the mountains, but I meant like, like LA proper and down in the cities and the beaches for the most part. But yeah, if we go to the mountains, we definitely could see some snow, but but I'm not really going there. I don't really want to see
You became a proper city.
Yeah.
From LA.
Yeah.
So what about your background, your musical background? So what kind of music do you used to listen when growing up?
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. My mom really loved listening to music, and my family in general, but she listened to everything. Like, I mean, I was born in the 70s. So, I mean, we listened to a lot of, Al Stewart, like all the like I remember the Al Stewart, You Were the Cat, vinyl in the house, Fleetwood Mac, all that sort of, Boz Scaggs. I really like Boz Scaggs, to Dr. Hook, and then from Dolls, and then like all the other like stuff from the 50s, my grandparents who loved to listen to music too. So it was all types of music really that we listened to in the house. And when I was in elementary school, I started playing the violin. So that was my first instrument. I don't play anymore.
All right.
But I have
how long?
They bought me one. I need to start. That was like one of my to-dos, like I need to get back to playing. But yeah, and I switched over to piano, and then that was my instrument.
And for how long do you study violin?
I only played violin just through like elementary school for the most part. I think I started in 3rd, 4th grade. Okay. And I did some recitals, played some competitions, and then I got into playing the piano like a few years later, and then that was like, that kept my interest. So
and did you still play piano? Because I also learned something, but I can't remember anything right now.
Do I still play? Yeah, I don't play like how I used to play. Like, like I took lessons, did a lot of music theory, and I used to play every day. Like I was that nerd that like in high school, like I lived like a couple of blocks away from my high school. So like I had my best friend Becky, and we would play the piano all the time together. And I would run home sometimes on my lunch just to play. Yeah.
That is so piano nerd.
Yeah. And then I, had like keyboards and stuff as I, fast forward through my young adult, had different keyboards and things like that. And then for a while I didn't have any instruments, like doing the whole 20s, like moving around and all that kind of stuff, how that can go. And then but a few years ago my wife, she bought me a upright piano, so we have one here in the house, which is nice. Yeah,
that is so cool. Do you remember your first piano?
I do. I do, because who I got it from. Like it was from my aunt, and she played the piano for silent films.
Oh,
so she was an amazing pianist. Yeah, I inherited from her. And it was very unfortunate. Like she ended up, she had Alzheimer's, and, it was, how like with that, like people don't remember things. But I remember that visiting her before she passed away, and she didn't remember anyone, but she remembered how to play the piano. She would sit down at that piano and like play it, and so I got her piano. And it was a Wurlitzer piano. Yeah. So
that is so sweet.
That was my first piano. Yeah.
Wow, that is so sweet. I mean, you never forget your first instrument, I guess, but when it comes to like such a important like meaning, like emotional meaning.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Holy shit. Yeah, I still have some of her sheet music too. I mean, even after I learned how to play the piano and stuff, I would crack open that sheet music. I'm like, yeah, no. I'm not there,
And
like a lot of black dots. No, I'm just kidding. No, I could read it, but I was like, yeah, there's no way.
I mean, I think you never forget that, but it's like you just need practice, I guess.
Yeah.
Like once you just get into it, it's like, oh yeah, actually it is like that. I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So would you say that that's your first memory that makes you excited about music, or is there any other special moment?
I mean, I guess that would be the most significant. I mean, but I can't remember there was a time in my life that I didn't like music, if that makes any sense. Even when I was little, like I said, like listening to it with my mom, and like she'd always be singing and dancing in the house, and like, so it was very like normal. So I guess I always loved music, and then when I had these opportunities, to like learn an instrument, then that was like, I took it, so.
How were you, like, were your parents supportive of that, in like your entire life when it comes to like music, learning instruments, and then going to like DJing and like electronic music, getting into it?
Yeah, my mom was always pretty supportive, and my stepdad. So I was raised by my mom, and I have a stepdad. And I didn't actually meet my father until I was like 27. So, but my mom always spoke of him, like she spoke highly of him. It wasn't like, I think they were just, like young, and she she didn't want to settle down. Like, I'm half Sicilian too. Like, if anybody out there, like I was born in 74 in the Midwest. My mother's Sicilian. My dad is Black. I mean, like let's like not get into the politics, but anyway, like, so I met him much later. Like, she always spoke very highly of him. It wasn't like they were just young, and they weren't in a position to really want to have a relationship to settle.
A relationship and a baby. Yeah, that's
but she was always like, your dad is really musical. That's how I met him. He's played with some jazz greats, like he was jazz. He played the trombone in several bands in Chicago. So it was just, I think it was just already in my blood, she would say. Like,
that is super cool.
Yeah.
So going through like elementary school to your like teenage times, what kind of music do you used to listen when you were like a teenager? Because that changed a lot. Like,
yeah. I mean, well, like I love ballads. Like, I was obsessed. Like, when I played the piano, like my piano teacher would be like, she would beg me to play classical, and I would like in the agreement, because I had to have an agreement. Like, she for every classical song I learned, I had to learn how to play a love ballad. So like I played from Chicago to like Journey to any of the R&B greats, Alexander O'Neal, like all that, all from R&B to all that, like classic rock with anything with like ballad, so. And that's what I later listened to. Like, I got into like later, and when I was in high school, like later in my teens, I ended up working for a local record shop on the campus, on the UW campus. And I became like a buyer at the store, which means like, this is like before CDs came out, folks. Okay. So yeah, like, so, I mean, oh yeah, Brandy's in the chat. She like Michael Jackson, Tina Turner.
And Tina Turner, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been like Michael. Yeah, no, like
I have
a picture of
Michael Jackson.
My mom bought me vinyl, Michael Jackson Thriller vinyl. Like that was my birthday. She has a picture. I'm holding the album like open, like I was little, like in elementary school, like. Or an album in the 6 months, I guess. Like, I sent away for a lot of vinyl. Like, that was my thing. Like, back then, you had to send away for vinyl.
Yes.
But yeah, HR Terror's like before CDs. Yes, before CDs. So when CDs came out, like, yeah, I worked at that shop, and then I did buy CDs for them too. But yeah, and then I started listening to dance music, because then we called it dance music. It wasn't like house or techno genres, like it was just like dance music, like.
Yeah, it's funny though, because actually that began in the US, and there wasn't a division between, oh, this is techno, or this is house music, or this is like drum and bass. Like, it was just like just people making music and having fun, I guess. So that's really cool.
Totally. And like, it's going to shows, like if I think back, like I'm like, yeah, I did hear that DJ like live, but I have no recollection, like, because where the DJs and the performers play and where they're placed in that versus where they were like many years ago, like when I used to go to raves and things like that, like, you didn't really see the DJ. They were like up on a stage, or the focus wasn't that. The focus was about the energy and the music that they were providing, and you know what I mean? So yeah, and it was just like dance music. There was 2 rooms. So I guess looking back, it would have been technically like jungle, I guess I called it that back then, jungle, drum and bass, and then like the house / techno, like the other room. Like that's like in the raves, you know, there'd be like 1 or 2 rooms or sometimes several, depending on how big, but that was generally.
So which genre was like the first one that you got into, or you just got into everything basically?
I mean, I listened to a lot of everything, like especially working at that record shop, it really gave me an opportunity to be introduced to music that I normally wouldn't have heard about, or, you know, like wouldn't have gravitated to, you know what I mean? Like, but by working there, it really opened my eyes to a lot of different styles of music. Because being a record store, we sold everything, you know, little death metal, like African, like Irish folk, you know, to rock, classic rock, R&B, rap, you know. And I did listen to a lot of R&B. I listened to a lot of R&B back then too, and then alternative like The Cure, Depeche Mode, of course, It's a Reb. All that. Yeah.
It's really fun how like, and that happened like that. I heard that many times, even myself. Like you were so much into R&B, and now your music is like so hard techno.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. That's actually, and it's good to have like an open mind for music at the end.
Yeah.
I think it's just related to the mood. So when and how do you started like making your own music, like producing itself?
Let's see. I guess I really didn't start producing, like producing maybe 2007, 2008. I mean, I sang in bands and stuff like that, and like yeah, like I did a lot of singing, and like I played some keys, but I wrote, you know, like playing the piano, like I'm sure just like even like other people that play instruments, you just, if you're playing, you naturally maybe fall into writing music with that instrument, like, you know, whatever that instrument may be. But so I wrote a lot of songs like that. But as far as production, I didn't really get into production or thinking consciously like I want to produce all of my own music until about 2007, 2008.
All right, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And what type of bands were you into?
I sang in an all women's like Hendrix band. That was the last band I was in for. Yeah, so like that whole like raspy, you know, like like Janis Joplin style, like all that.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And about DJing, how did you become a DJ?
I guess like, well, I don't know if I really consider myself a DJ. I mean, I DJ, but I never really considered myself a DJ, if that makes any sense. Like, because like, okay, so the first time I ever learned to DJ technically, I learned on vinyl like in the 90s. But that was like a very brief stint, and it wasn't something I really took seriously. Like I learned to mix and never really, you know, learned the basics of mixing and things like that. But I never was like, okay, I want to be a DJ. You know, I definitely was into the music and all about music and things, but it was just something else. And then fast forward to with production, like I think in the back of my mind, I always liked that live performance element. So even like, you know, skipping ahead and getting CDJs would have been like, and then starting to practice to DJ when I started this show called the Vibe Lounge LA, where I had like a lot of guest DJs come on and just do showcase DJs from various genres and that lived in LA. And then eventually I started getting DJs from other cities and things like that. And so through that, like I practiced mixing, but I always had my eye on doing something more than that. And I don't mean that in any like
yeah, I'm disrespecting.
Like it's not even like that for me. Like it's just in my mind, I was like, I envision myself doing more, doing something else, not, you know.
I mean, I guess also like the industry forced, like especially there was like this time between like the 2010, something like that, when the whole like DJ thing became like explosion. And I guess also like the industry kind of forced many people that I know, like they were actually playing live to just go into DJing, whether it was with like records or on the CDJs, because like it was really expensive for the promoter to bring the guy with all the gear. Then also the artist didn't want to bring all the gear because it was really expensive. And I mean, I find that like for example, Marvel that's one of the things that he told me. Like I just couldn't like play. The people wouldn't book me for a live performance, so I would go and DJ my own music. So
Right.
I mean, which is really cool though. At the end, I just had to adapt sometimes.
Right.
But I do admire people like, for example, you, that I remember like you were saying something when we met the first time about DJing, and I never like I'm completely useless. Like I have no idea when it comes to like mixing records. I tried and I quit very quickly. Like no, just because like my brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's definitely an art form. I mean, you know, DJing versus, you know, playing live. And I guess like there was that sort of surgence of dance music. I think that kind of happened when, you know, the whole like Deadmau5 and Avicii and all and Skrillex kind of brought the mainstream, you know, people that listening to top 40 and things like that they were some of the people that brought that attention music. So electronic underground dance music to the attention of the mainstream. And I think with that comes like, obviously then, you know, there's like pros and cons, you know, like it's great that more people are getting into electronic dance music because it gives everyone that's been making it all these years an opportunity to really, you know, have more platforms to play their music. And then the flip side to that was, you know, the more clubs I think that got into playing electronic music, like house music outside of, you know, not just hip hop, but house or even sometimes techno or deep house. LA is very much a deep house town, like that. People love to drink, and so then it became more like booking, you know, like who they're bringing, you know, like and that's just my experience, you know. That's just what I've seen.
It is like that.
You know what I mean? Like that's just, I'm not gonna, like say that is the way it is, but that's based upon my experience living in LA and going out. Like that just seems to how it looks to me, and it's become very much like, you know, a numbers game. You know, like bringing and you know so. But I also think that over the past few years, there's been a flip to that now where, you know, people are going back and saying like, screw it. Like I play live. I want to play live. Like, you know, I want to play hybrid sets. I want to use, you know, like my computer or hardware or modular, like, you know, and then I feel like promoters, especially some that I've worked with in LA, specifically like the 6 a.m. group, they are about music and community. And so they tend to like focus, obviously, like, you know, they are throwing a party and everybody has a job, you know, so they want to make money, but at the same time, they also take an opportunity to promote local talent, up and comers, and things like that to create that balance. And a lot of those people play live, you know, and play various forms of live. So, so there is that flip side, you know, and I see that, well, aside from, you know, the obvious thing that's kind of everybody's sort of on a little pause right now, but before that, you know, I think that more people were starting to dig into their creativity to play live and even DJ, like even like using a CDJ with some hardware, you know, like, or a CDJ in their laptop and like a modular case, or, you know, like I think people are kind of getting back into that over the past few years, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, it is everything. It is like, you know, it goes up and down. So it went really, really high when in terms of like creating celebrities out of like DJs and artists, basically. And now it's going down again. I mean, it helped a lot in every single aspect of the industry, whether it was like the manufacturing, because it made manufacturing also like opened the doors for like many other small manufacturers to release their products, because there were more people interested on that. It made it more accessible to people. But I do believe that right now that peak is going down again in every single aspect, and what is truthful is going to stay, and what is not is going to clean itself from, it's like it's going to clear whether we like it or not. And it's already happening right now.
Right.
So, and it's also like you will have to adapt also. And you mentioned something about, like mixing right now between that mix between the DJing and using hardware at the same time, which I've seen in many, like whether it's ambient music or just noise or even like techno, like any other different style. Have you ever played, like have a DJ set like mixed with hardware, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I've only if I think of the DJ gigs like where I've just DJ'd, they're very few. Like,
Okay.
probably enough to count on my one hand. I mean, not like that, but like very few. Most of the gigs that I play, it is like CDJs with a piece of hardware, tractor with hardware, no CDJs, Ableton with hardware with modular. Like I'm 100% into hybrid setups. I completely stand by that. Like being innovative, trying different things, like changing. I change up my setup all the time, for better or worse. I don't know. Like sometimes I look and think maybe if I stop changing my setup so much. I mean, there's something said about sticking with a specific setup for a lengthy period of time. I do understand that, but no, but like I like changing it up, like trying different things and seeing what works and what doesn't, and
so what's your setup right now?
I'm sorry?
What do you have in your setup right now? Yeah.
Right now. Well, I'm in the middle of revamping it. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. Actually, I really am in the middle of revamping it. I'll tell you, the last big show that I played, I was using modular, Digitac, Digitone, and a 303, like a boutique 303.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I've used like 2 Digitacs. That was probably like my latest setup. But I think that I've used Ableton too, like with that. And I think now I've been sort of getting into Bitwig.
Okay.
I've been kind of looking at that, like kind of slowly building stuff in that. But that's sort of the direction I'm kind of going, like with modular, Bitwig. And
how do you combine Ableton with all that gear? Like samplers or
well, with Ableton, the last time I used Ableton, I mainly used it like, okay, so I would run my modular through Ableton.
All right.
Then you can build like other effect racks. So I had effects in my modular case, and then I had effects in Ableton.
Okay.
And then I can mix the levels in Ableton. And then like I learned the hard way. Thank God my wife is like such a good sport. Like I had to play a gig in St. Louis, and like I had so much shit with me, and I was like, never again am I carrying this much stuff. And like, so after that, I was like, okay, like I'm playing with Ableton, and I was like carrying all these boxes. And so then I like sampled stuff, and like I played with the Rolling Cloud 303, which actually sounds pretty good, instead of carrying around, the boutiques and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I tried that, like, so I'll use that. So it's like an instrument in Ableton, run the modular through there, and then kind of mixing it, like doing the final mix out. Like my modular would have has its own mixer. I run that into Ableton before, and then, but now I'm not doing it that way. Yeah.
It's really nice actually how you like get to just change so much on like different gear, and that actually change is good because I do believe that helps you to change a lot of things and discover different things on how to use your music, for example. So yeah, there's like here, Mandy is saying it's cheaper than a full FX modular rack. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and at the end, as you said, like how much gear can you play at the same time, and how much gear can you bring to a gig?
Right. Yeah.
It gets tough though. So what, like, when and how was your first contact with hardware?
Like just in general, like, well, I guess I did keyboards. I wish I could remember the name of the keyboard that I had when I was like younger. But I had a micro Korg too. I guess that's the one like I remember. So I had one of those because I had the little microphone on there. Then I had like an Elise's. That thing weighed a ton. It was like full 88 keys. The I think it was the QS. I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about though. It weighed so much. Like I don't even know why the hell. Like it was great though. It had weighted keys, you know. And then I guess like after that, like I had the TR8, and you know, just I've had gear come and go after that. It was just buying gear, trying it, selling it. You know how that goes.
Yeah. Keep on trying it.
Yeah.
And nowadays, like apart from all the gear that you're like just changing or on your setup, what inspires you to make music?
I guess like the sounds that it makes. So I've basically been really focusing mostly on modular. So that has sort of been my core, and then other things kind of come in to fill in spots that I don't want to do with the modular, you know, like that. For example, I'll use the dig attack so I can use like vocals and have like the Elektron like sequencing capability with that, which is fun. And then I'll like use the modular for other stuff. But it's like a lot of it is like the way things sound. It's like inspires, like invokes like a feeling of something. Like, so if I like to make something like a darker techno or like chords, like if I hear something like house chords, like that old like Chicago vibe, like I tend to kind of stay within those two. That's like my sound. I think I'm like coming into my sound is very much that sort of little jackin', like old school kind of vibe of techno and house kind of blend.
All right, and that actually is linked to the gear you are using, which is really important nowadays. Like especially with modular, just get to know what do you want, and that is going to be useful, and not just like because it's super hype or there is a lot of it's like YouTubers talking about that module, and then it doesn't apply to the music you want to make.
Right. So, I mean, some of it's like for sound design too, you know, like. Yeah, but I love sounds, like, yeah. I mean, not to sound like such a basic. Like, I remember like one of the first, okay, so I heard, like, you know, you have those moments like through hearing different shows or different people perform, and you have like those moments where like they're like little turning points or like little things that change you. So I heard, the last one was like, I heard Belief Defect. And that was like right before I bought any modular. It was like right before, like I was already researching it and like, but then I got to hear them play live. And I was like, the sound design, you know, and like, and I've met Mo and Luis before, and then like hearing them together and they're playing live and I was like, holy shit. Like it was just like having that sound design. And maybe that's not exactly the kind of music that I want to make, you know, like, but to really appreciate the sounds that you can get out of modular and have that instantaneous, like, you know, like you can build a lot of racks on racks in Ableton, which I've, you know, have tons of racks that I've built and saved, and like, you know, I enjoy doing them, but there's something about having that immediacy of like turning the knobs and like having those happy accidents and creating all those sounds. That was like one of a tipping thing for me. I mean, I was already on the I'm going to buy modular, but then that was like that like kind of like put the little cherry on top.
This is the next question is just something funny. Like I would like to, because actually I never asked you that, and I know all of us we had a moment when we were like performing that we remember, like something unexpected / funny or not funny happened. Have you ever have one of those? Like I remember once, like at CBIS, for example, Jen was playing and the entire gear just dropped on him, like on him. Like, like, and it's actually, you can see the video, it's actually like it's recorded, and you see like there's like this tiny space in like with all the gear, and then you see that the rhythm and the digiton, they just like drop like this. And it's like instantly took it.
Did he keep playing?
Yeah, and he kept playing, of course. That like he didn't stop because of the Stabatse, because I think Digiton stopped playing, but then
right
on the other machine. But then he actually I was just looking at him like, oh my god, it's like what's gonna happen? But he was like super quick. Have you ever had like a super funny moment when you were like performing? Not like that, I hope.
No. I mean, nothing like that. Like nothing like super, super memorable. Like, okay, so one of the ways when I first started playing live, when I was like trying to like play out, this was before getting into modular, and like I was building a lot of things in Ableton. I worked with Brian Markman, and he's a really good friend of mine, and he's also an Ableton certified trainer. And we used to play together in this group called Forward, and I worked with him a lot. Like, and he like that's where I really like got kind of ninja with Ableton, with working with him, because I learned stuff from him while I was building like different racks and different things. And so we would play together with Ableton Link. Okay. And like we had our own like setups, and so then I would have like a push and things like that. So we had a lot of things clocking, and we had like metronomes, and I mean we would have these moments where like I would tell him like, because I was the percussion and he would play the keys and things like that. And like I would say like I'd be smiling and I'd be like, we're not on the one. Like just like where are we at? Like we're on the 3. Like so the 3 is now the 1, you know? Like he's like, okay, got it. Like you know, just shit like that. Like, and then like, oh, like I do remember one thing. We played oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. It was the Synthplex. We played Synthplex here in Burbank, the first Synthplex. And we had like specific time slots, and a part of our platform for the way we played was like we had like a skeleton of stuff, and then it was mostly improv, you know. So okay. I wrote something and then he kind of played with it, and like as we played more, we had a little bit more pieces laid down, but for the most part it was a lot of playing, you know, off of each other and stuff like that. And they handed me a piece of paper, and there was like, it was like people were standing there and they're like, hand me this piece of paper. Can you play for like another like 25 minutes or something? And like I look at it, like trying not to like try to have a poker face, but I don't really have a good poker face. So I handed the paper, and so like he like just like, okay, so we just like had to wing it, and like so we were just like writing things like in that moment and stuff, and like I mean it turned out pretty damn good. Like everyone was like, that was dope, and I was like, cool, because we don't know what we were doing for the last half of it. Like, you know, so I guess that was like one of those moments.
Yeah, I mean that you gotta like show your skills there.
Yeah, because it's not like you know the USC, like sure I could play a few more songs, you know, I just scroll through, like you know, like yeah. Write some more music for another 25 minutes.
Insta writing, yeah.
Yeah, no, but it was fun. It was a good show.
God. Which was your first synth event that you played?
My first synth event?
Yeah.
Like meaning like synth
Synth or super booth, like within like the technology industry.
Like industry wise, that was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Like for industry. I mean, I played in clubs and things like that. Like, but that was the first industry. That was the first performance for industry.
Like industry,
yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool though.
Yeah.
And which was your first module, Eurorack module?
My first Eurorack module was by Noise Engineering, the BIA, the Bacillus Iteratitas.
Okay, that's a really cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened? Like, how do you combine that one with like the rest of the gear that you were playing at the same time?
Well, my wife and I, we went on my birthday actually to Perfect Circuit, and we got that module. What else did I got the Variegate and the voltage block.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I think we got like a couple 2 HP things, like just some sort of percussion. I was really into percussion, and that's sort of like I like those sort of elements where like I was watching videos for the BIA, and before that I had met Chris and Steven at NAMM and like kind of hovered their booth and like would check out their modules, like stock their booth and stuff like that. That's how I met them actually. Yeah, like, like when you're in that kind of trying to explore and
trying to get into it, but you don't know what to start.
Yeah. So, I watched a lot of YouTube too. And like, I was like, this is what I like, the sounds that thing made. It can get really gnarly if you really want it to get gnarly, but it can sound really, like you can get some really melodic things out of it. Like I did a thing for the Force and it was our high arpeggiation on that thing was actually from the BIA, which normally I think it's a lot of go-to for like bass lines, percussion and very industrial sounds, but it has a lot of dynamic range. I liked it for that reason. And it was like a nice intro to patching, because it has an envelope on there and yeah.
So what would you like after all this time that you actually became very like knowledgeable, like you have like big knowledge, it went from beginner to now being able to like change the modular. If somebody comes to you, like now that you're working a Perfect Circuit, for example, and ask you, oh, would you recommend me, like which module would you recommend me to get into modular, or how can I get into modular? Because I also get like that question like many times. And it's like, how do you approach that?
Well, the first thing I ask is like what kind of music they want to make. What are they looking to do? Because that's obviously really important. Because if they're like, I want to make really like, melodic stuff, I wouldn't send them to modules that would, lean to more darker and industrial sounding things. But I think for the most part, I always like whenever I give workshops and when people ask me that, I say first ask yourself like what kind of music do you want to do? And in terms of like picking even hardware is like what kind of thinker are you? Like, are you a visual person and like you like to have those screens, like for example, the Elektron gear where you can see when you're turning up the delay that it's the image, like, are you a visual person like that? Or are you more of like a numbers person, where it's like you're more computer oriented? And so those kinds of things I think really come into play with the gear you're picking. And then your budget too, like obviously, because there's a lot of gear that's great for beginners at any price point, like The Volcas, like I had the whole I had all the Volcas at one point, and they sound really good, and like even though like it's a good price point, they're like a couple $100. I mean, to getting started.
Yes.
And then like, going maybe into electronic gear. So it's just asking yourself those. I always ask those questions first, because like it's always interesting when, I hear people say, "Oh, you should get this." And like whenever I hear people say you should get that, like it's like a huge red flag for me. If they haven't already answered the other questions before you tell them what to get. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
You're like, because you're just then telling somebody to get something based upon something that works, like for me or whatever for you, like. But so that's really important, I think. Like, if you're figure out what type of thinker or like a learner you are, that's important.
Yeah, it is actually.
Your question, but like.
But I mean, it is really important. Like I remember once I was at the Elektron studios, and it was an event between Elektron and Moog, and they had like displayed that it's like the 3P, this like huge synthesizer, and that it was this girl. It was actually called Flavia also, which we talked and we realized that she was called Flavia 30 minutes later. And then she comes to me and is like, "Oh, I would like to play this, and how can I play modular, and can you teach me how to play this?" And I asked her, like, "Are you into modular? Do you know anything? Like, do you have any modular gear?" "No." I was like, "Well, then you should not start here." Like, definitely.
It's like immediate frustration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First of all, because it's like 45,000 euros.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. And this is not the best one to get to be like into like begin with.
Right.
But then actually I asked her that same question, like, first of all, what type of music do you want to play? What type of music you're into, you like to produce, and what type of gear do you have that can complement also what you already have. It's not like you're gonna, because I don't like also when people just tells you like, "Oh yeah, just like get this, you should get," as you said, like you should get this or you should get that. And mostly people get really scared because like to get a module, then you have to buy the power supply, you have to buy the case.
Right.
And it becomes really, really expensive with time. And if you don't know what you're getting into, it can get very expensive and difficult. So actually I told her, like, like I show her the field kits, and she had a few like drum machines and a few stuff. It's like before getting really hard into Eurorack or modular, maybe adapting something like this so you can learn how to patch and you can learn like how it works, and you like apply it to your own setup right now. And she was like super happy. She was just playing the field kit, and then she was like, "Yeah, thank you so much," because like usually I get people telling me that I should buy this, I should buy that, and right now I end up like doing nothing.
Right.
So, and it's also like it was like a good budget for like price. It was a good price for her also. So I think this really important, like is a good approach that you ask the person how she wants to, or her or him wants to apply that.
Right.
So you are one of the founders of the Southern California Synth Society. How that happened? Why did you start it? When did that happen? And all the process until now.
It was very organic because, well, it started with as I got into modular, and then my wife started getting into modular, and we were, like she was kind of doing her own thing, and I was doing mine, and we would, like then meet up with friends, and we met some people like Justin, who's like this like solder guru. He can like fix anything. And Abe, like he's awesome, and his girlfriend Vanessa. And we met some other people like Marcel and all them. But we were always like, we would go to these events and like people would be playing like live, and performing and hanging out. But we were like, we wanted to have something where we could just sit down and kind of just like nerd out, like either learn to solder, or just more of like hanging out and not so much performance oriented, more so than like we build modules, you know, we sit around and
so it started more like a building workshops than just jamming or playing or doing something else.
Like jamming would be like later on, like we would sit down for hours and like solder, and then like if one or two of us finished the module that we were building, then we would go and plug it in and jam with it a little bit if it wasn't like super late. But it kind of turned into this thing, like we're like as we would hang out, and we're like, we should invite more people. You know what I mean? Like we should invite other people to do it. But what got it sort of going, at least for our side of it, was that as I was learning modular, it wasn't, there was modular on the spot in LA, and you know, the modular community is very like open to and accepting to ask questions and things like that, but there wasn't really a specific event or thing where you could sort of count on being new and saying, okay, well, like I'm going to go to like the Southern California Synth Society event, like where, you know, like maybe I'm going to learn to solder, I'm going to bring a kit, and like, you know, someone's going to be there to help you figure it out. And like, and so that's sort of where it stemmed from for me. It's like I wanted to be a part of creating that that community, that place, you know, to do that, which I thought it was very odd that LA did not have anything. Number one, like there was always these events, but I could never find a solder build or anything like that. And it was, everything was always online. And then like, I live outside of LA, like more towards like Anaheim, like area. And, you know, like so then on top of that, there wasn't anything there. So we're like, hell, like, and we all live out here, like, it's not that far from LA, like 20 minutes, but still we were like, you know, let's start it out here. And then we were like, what should we call it? And eventually it was like, we should invite people. And then it kind of grew into this thing, and like, and eventually turned.
For how long have you been with that project?
I guess like actively, maybe we're going on a year and a half or into the second year. It's kind of tough because, like I said, it started out very much like let's hang out, and like as we did it, and it was sort of like a monthly thing, we were like, we should invite more people to do this. We should invite people and like allow other people to come and share their knowledge and whatever. And then we're like, okay, we should call it something. And then it just kind of like started happening from there. But yeah.
And which was the first module you solder?
It was an MS-20 like filter. We still have it. I'm like looking over my shoulder because I think it's over there. I forget what the name of it is. But yeah, that was the first one. Yeah,
that's really nice. That was my second one from the faco.
Yeah. From where?
From the faco.
Oh, from
BF, yeah, the BF22. And then when I finished, I was like, oh, it's actually, you know, it's based on the filter of the MS-20. I had no idea. I just wanted a filter and solder.
Yeah, I bought that mixer, the Bafaco mixer, before I did any soldering. And I saw that. I was like, hell no, I'm not going to like, I'm not going to ruin this. I mean, now I could put it together, but like before I was like, oh. I ended up getting Modular Attic, got it from Modular Attic, and Logan built it because he built it for me. Yeah. Yeah.
So talking about the workshops, like you just said that you started with like mainly focus on just hanging out and soldering. How did you integrated the manufacturing side? Like how do you started making workshops with manufacturers and for manufacturers?
I started making when I first started making workshops, I made workshops with stuff that I liked and stuff that worked for me. And then it just kind of, then they approached me.
Okay.
But it wasn't like Yeah, like I started, like, for example, the first workshop I did was on how to integrate hardware into your DJ setup, actually, into like a DJ format. And I used like two K2s, Ableton, and Digitact, I think a Digitact and a Digitone for that workshop. So like I always base my workshops on stuff that I believe in, that work for me, so that at least I can show what worked for me, because maybe that will help somebody else, you know. And then especially then with, like, I've done stuff with noise engineering, and it's just because I love their stuff. And so then she asked, Chris asked me, she's like, would you like to do a techno workshop at Perfect Circuit, intro to techno? And I was like, I would love to, because I already used their stuff anyway. It wasn't that they approached me and then therefore I started using their stuff. It's always been the other way around. Like I was already using it, and then they liked the way I was using it, and so then I got asked.
I really, really, really like that. There is a big difference when you see someone who's doing a review or doing a workshop or talking about something that is because it was given and it had to learn before, like learned it, or when you actually speak with passion about things, like it just flows, it just comes out of you, and then it's not about selling the piece of equipment or the gear. It's more about the how do you feel like playing with it. So I believe that's more important right now than just any reviews talking about how awesome this gear is. If you can feel it and if you can apply it to yourself, then maybe someone can actually relate to that feeling and get that module, or maybe get something else because that's what the person wants.
Right.
But I do like that. Like that shows a lot of honesty also.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice. So, okay, next question. And this is more like, I don't know if you can feel like related to it, but as a female artist, which is the biggest challenge you've had in your career?
I guess like the whole being taken seriously.
Fair enough.
Sorry. No. I mean,
like, gear. You're a girl.
Yeah, like I think every female artist has their experiences are a little different depending on the circumstance and things like that. But I mean, I think that's like, especially depending on what platform or where I've played, like I've had to deal with that, like basically people talking to me like I don't really know something, or if I've played with someone else and that other person happens to be a man, they'll like they'll look to that person, and then that person has to be, well, actually, I don't know, like you need to ask her. And it's like, so I've had a lot of those type of moments. But on the flip side, I do have a lot of supportive male like friends and, people that I work with. And so, yeah, I mean, but I think that would have been and then my name. I think initially when I chose my name, I chose it like it means something to me. It means to find oneself. And also, but when you read the word, it's very ambiguous or androgynous, however you want to look at it. So I do often get, hey dude, hey man, like, comments, like, and I know it's nothing like
yeah,
not trying to be, it's just their assumption.
Yeah. That happened to me.
I'm not like one to sit there and try to overcorrect someone. I'm eventually I'm like, like if they follow me, they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. Yeah.
Like
it happened to me. Like, hey bro, like
yeah, no, like, because it's like yeah, like, but sometimes you can just tell, like, I can say, oh, this guy definitely thinks I'm a dude. Like, and I'm just like, whatever, like, if he continues to follow me, he'll figure it out, like, whatever. Like,
and that's actually something that I personally had, and I also like speak a lot with many other of my female like relatives, like friends. I'm not that much into like doing the separation because I do believe, for example, like if if you come from like a super small village or town, then it's more probable, there's more probabilities that you have to make like a workshop only for women and you can actually focus on that. But I live in Berlin right now and I lived in Barcelona. I don't think it should be done like that.
Oh, workshop specifically for
women or like separated. But how has been like your support from the female side, like because
or just
in general, like it's an artist or just like right now that you're in the tech side of the industry, because sometimes you actually get like nowadays because of the like people is very conscious about it, you get most support from the guys than from the girls, from the women. So I don't know how that actually works there in LA, or what's your experience with that?
That's an interesting question. Let's see, like that was like a compound question. I think that I get a lot of support from a lot of female artists, first of all, and I think that that is important.
Yeah.
And I do think that in certain situations, depending on, cities, that it is helpful to have workshops for women, and not because we're trying to be necessarily exclusive, because like I said, like a lot of my people that I work with, my friends, are a lot of males too. Like, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. But there are some places where sometimes it's a little intimidating, or some women might feel a little intimidated. Yeah. And if it means like giving them a platform where they can have a jump off point, like to have that positive experience to get them going, like where they don't feel intimidated, then maybe that's what is needed. You know what I mean? Because let's just face it, like, I mean, it is a male dominated industry.
Yeah.
And I've had comments about, like, I've read comments that, men have made about female artists, and, it's just whatever. Let's just not go down that road. But I can see where some females might feel that, and I think it's valid, and that if it means giving them a platform to have an opportunity to kind of come into themselves, like, I think that we should provide it. But I do think that it's important to show, I think it's important, like, for example, the SoCal Synth Society, we're all inclusive, 100%.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't male, female, trans, no like every ethnicity, there's no like, and there's zero toleration, like we don't tolerate any sort of discrimination or treating anybody poorly. And I feel like those platforms are, having that platform and providing that, I think is just as important as having a workshop that's exclusively for women, because
I do believe
that's just my experience, like I have had female artists that I've, know and have worked with, where their experience, they've dealt with a lot of other issues of, sexist comments and remarks. And I'm sure, like, I mean, without getting too heavy or down in this deep road, like, I mean, like, I don't know how to say it. I mean, look at me. Like, I mean, I have shaved hair, and like, I feel like I'm sort of androgynous a little bit, like, and maybe with that, depending on, like, this is the reality of life, is that, everybody has, judgments or prejudgments. And so maybe some of the things that I don't have to deal with, maybe one of my other female friends that, has to, you know what I mean? So, and that's like something that has to be acknowledged, so maybe that's why those workshops are important, to create those platform.
I do believe that it's important to actually talk about this in a general term, like including everyone, because I think we all had that. Like as a female, you always had that person, like whether it was a female or a male person, just making like a nasty comment.
Right.
And it's like, where is this coming from? Or why are you saying that? You don't even know me, or even like, But I think it is important. Like I do believe like the realities are different. So I'm not against that. Let's make it clear. But I think that if everything is related to education, and it should be about educating like in a general like community, like whether it's like guys or girls. So if you have like a proper balance of that, then actually I will definitely go to ask you instead of asking another person if I'm actually very shy. So in the beginning, like when I was it doesn't look like I know it doesn't look like but in the beginning I was like, oh my god, like how or where can I ask this? And I didn't have a female like person to introduce me to that. It were all guys. If I had that, I would definitely go and ask her. So that's what I right now when it comes to that, I always want to be that person that like be like everyone wants to be comfortable, especially a female, to come and ask me about stuff and feel integrated. But it's also, I think that it's very important for everyone that gets the same, let's say, like speech. I don't know if it's the right word to say that, but it should be like we as a woman should be able to like welcome other women, non-binary, whatever, like I don't care. And the guy is the same, like they also should hear what we have go through, and they should learn and understand that we are going through this stuff and it's not okay. It's not all right. So
yeah, I agree. I know I heard somebody in the chat who said that I don't like that people approach me
because exactly that I mean that's exactly like the path that some like manufacturers, for example, in my experience, or even like performers, like, or labels, they are taking advantage of that, like the feminist side right now that is very like boiling up, like it's really important, it's really like we're voicing like ourselves, like our voices, and they're actually kind of like in the other way, like actually taking advantage of that. And it's just because we just need a female artist, and that happened to me many times, like we just need a female artist, and because you're a woman and you know how to play, we don't care even how you, like if we like your music or not, but do you want to play? And no, like that's not how it works. So even though like that happened to me once, like that wasn't the direct question I had, but then when I said yes and I got into like meeting the rest of the team, I realized they just needed a female artist to showcase. So it is like that's still sexism. And
oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that we all should be part of like changing that and teaching them that just because we're females, it doesn't mean that we're meat, and we still have to like, we're performers, like Mandy said, like this is really important. So yeah, so like not talking about that because I think that's something completely different. What do you think about the actual scene, like talking about not the like the performer side, but more about the technology industry? Like, what do you think about like the market itself?
Like the gear that's being sold right now, like that, or
yes, because you play different gear, like you change your setup, like you said. So, what do you think about like right now? What's happening right now?
I mean, I see there's like a lot of surgence of new module, like new Eurorack modules, and companies popping up. You know, smaller companies, like like meaning like one or two people, like, which I think is great. I see like some more synths and things like that that are coming out at more affordable price ranges. I know some people feel differently about different companies, and that's just, different conversation about the company itself, different companies itself. But generally speaking, I like it because any way it gives people an opportunity to get into music and and have other avenues of to pick gear, and it's not all like $5,000 and above, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I like that because ultimately, like, we're moving forward with technology. Like if you think about like I didn't have a cell phone when I was a kid. Like now kids have cell phones, iPhones, iPads in school, things like that. And any way to like get them out of like having their face planted in a phone, for example, like to be creative, to like make music. I think I'm all for that. And I'm also like, I like the fact that all these other companies are coming up with modules and things like that. Like, I guess there's a pro and con because people talk about continuity versus having system, like in a whole system that kind of from one company, they'll have that argument versus having a module here or there. But I like that. It creates like, it builds the community. I think that's just what I've seen, like, I think that people come together more. I see other small companies helping someone else who's starting to do something, and that builds the community up. It builds the solidarity of everybody like coming together. I know everybody wants to sort of have like, I hear people, oh, it's underground music and that. I mean, I don't necessarily want to see anymore. I mean, not like that. Like, I don't want it to become like so, mainstream in a bad way, but I like the fact that more people are playing live, that are getting more into playing live, that are like electronic music is becoming more of a norm, or like hearing it, like if you listen to even like commercials and TV and movies and, like just things like that, you can hear the music is changing, and I like that because it only creates more opportunities as an artist to have more platforms to play on, and to like get together with other people, and that's just what I think.
Yeah, but that's nice though, because also is.
I mean, there's always. I'm sure there's some cons to it too, but but that's kind of what I see from it. Like
it's been a bubble though. Again, it's been like a curve of like a lot happening, but at the same time, like within the Eurovac world, like what's happening, I do like that. I mean, when I started, I was like that person, like because I was working with the FACO, and I felt it like, oh my God, I'm in love with the people and the community and the modules. And I felt like I'm just going to have one entire system of the FACO and that's it. And then, like time passes and you get to know other people and you get to know other, like you have a different way. I found different ways of making music and different modules that I liked. So at the end, there's this difference that it actually links very well. Like you can have different modules that talk to each other. And I think that's the whole base that's why Eurovac happened. That's why it was created. So you could communicate your different module with the other one. Like I remember talking with Malcolm Cecil about that, the creator of Tonto, and that was like the beginning of the idea of Eurovac, like even before it was created.
Right.
That he wanted his Moog to talk to his ARP, when in real life Moog hated the creator of ARP. They hated each other, so they were not to make a synthesizer that could talk to each other, obviously. So I do like that actually it created like a more like a genuine scene and community. So, and it's really cool. So like everyone has his own system. So I like that. And yeah, you're totally right. Like there is pros and cons, but let's just focus on the pros.
Yeah. I mean, the community, I mean, like I'm looking in the chat right now, like HR terror. Like, I mean, that's like somebody like I've been communicating with like online, like on Instagram and things like that. Like, and he's talking right now. He mentioned Jono, which Jono Wells is a guy who does modular on the spot in San Diego, and like I like that. I like community and meeting all these people that are like working like with modular or hardware and just music. And that's how we met. Like I felt like before I met you in person when Brandy and I were in Berlin.
Yep.
I felt like I already knew you because we were already like chatting, like on Instagram and stuff like that. And then finally, when we had a chance to like hang out and go and have dinner and all that sort of stuff, like. I mean, so there's definitely something to be said about the music, the community,
It is amazing how Instagram has created so much friendships within this community, because like you and I met through Instagram. Like, I don't know how that happened. Like we just started following each other.
Yeah.
And then talking, and then I also like heard like Jank like knew you, and the guys was like, oh.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah. I was like,
oh.
So that's really nice. And I met a lot of people like that. Like Mandy, for example, she was the same. Like I remember that I was following her on Instagram and I loved her music. Yeah, it's a big one family, as she's saying. And then last year I got booked to play AD, and she was there too. And I was so excited, like so happy. It was like, yeah, we're finally gonna meet. And it's just like really nice friendships that you just end up building through Instagram. So that's nice. Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your present. But before that, there is one question I like to ask to all of the guests. Who is your synth hero or person that you admire the most in the industry?
Ooh.
It can be more than one. It's fine.
I was gonna say I can't say more than I can't just say one person, because I guess if I had to, like, I'll name some people that have, like, among many people that have influenced me, especially my friends who've, like, helped me learn different things. Like, I mean, I love like what Lady Starlight is doing, like non-compliant. Let's see, like Chris from Noise Engineering, like I mean, I could keep going. Like it's like it's just having those people like laying a path, I guess, like helping blaze the path, especially as female females in the industry. And those there, I just named 3 from just taking different paths, but I mean, there's many more, like I can't list everyone, but like I guess I draw that influence from people that I've worked with, like my friends, like my wife, like just being like strong people that have like good beliefs and like good work ethic, and like to, I don't know, like that tell you like keep working, like like even Gia with 6 a.m. like his philosophy, like I really like it. He's like always writing stuff about hard work and working, and not just on music, but just on yourself, and I think that we need that. Like, but I don't know. It's hard to name just one person. I feel like.
But you said something really important right now, and is also I heard that when I started, like when I started like music production the first time, this path or career, or however you want to call it, because it is a career. It doesn't happen like you just go to school and you study and then you get a job. It is a lifestyle. It's something that you grow and you change, and sometimes you start here and you think like you want to become like this artist or whatever, like, or you just have dreams, and then they change. Did you change personally, and you also change then professionally? And it's funny how there is like so many different spots in the industry that it need to be filled with people that are passionate about them.
Mm-hmm.
So it is more of a literally of a career when you run, and the hard work is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing that you can do in this life if you don't want to work hard for it. And mostly in this industry,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta like do it like really like
Yeah.
hard. So yeah. So well, talking about your present right now, like you're working for Perfect Circuit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is exactly what you're doing there?
I like that. Well, I'm their YouTube personality content creator. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, especially with this whole, everyone kind of being at home and working from home and things like that. I've been focusing just on like doing a lot of live streams. So Tuesdays, we typically do like tutorials or, just sort of more informative stuff like, and it varies, not one specific topic. And then Thursdays we do a thing called like chat, and I do that with B-Boy Tech, and he co-hosts that with me, and we interview, so we interview like companies and artists that, yeah, and then they'll perform, and then we'll just talk to them about if it's company like upcoming gear and things like that. Just kind of providing that platform. Like this, just yesterday we just interviewed Teenage Engineering.
All right.
Teenage Engineering. So yeah, so stuff like that. Like, and on Fridays I do like a thing on Instagram at 1:00 where I just have somebody kind of come on and I go live for like 10-15 minutes on their IG and have somebody come in to their record. I add them into the live stream do like a quick little, improv, like just a jam, like to get people inspired for the weekend, and yeah, just stuff like that. Like, and
what were you doing before working for Perfect Circuit?
I was a trial paralegal, so I was working from home like contract.
But that is cool though. Like now we know that it's really important to know how to read contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is really cool though, because I do well. First of all, congratulations, because I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Thank you.
I'm super happy.
Yeah.
Like I remember when you told me, I was just, that is so cool. Yeah. I remember being in LA and they were looking for like this person to be on the YouTube and be creating content for them. And then you told me that and I was like, yeah, that's so perfect. Like how did it, like come up to my mind? Is like, yeah, of course she should be doing that. Like nobody else should be doing that. So I'm really happy, and that, because I remember our talk about the rhythm, that I was like really angry about it.
Yeah. And I get to do their demos too, which is like, I like that too.
And I got to like heard you talking, and I was like, yeah, she does know her shit. She knows what she's talking about, and that is really important. It's mostly when you are in front of the camera or you have to make a demo. And yeah, congratulations. I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Thank you. I've been enjoying it.
So now that you are actually like, this is your job, that you became like full-time job, what are the challenges you have found in this position, like regarding to your like making music as an artist, and now you're like doing this full-time because it's your job, and in terms of creativity, I mean,
like challenges for creativity or just in general, like
in general and creativity?
I think that I don't know. I think the biggest challenge would be like, and maybe it's just something that's in my head, is like, I want, like when I do give a demo and, to kind of showcase something, I want it to be good. You know what I mean? So like, I want to make sure that I'm like showing the piece, whatever piece of gear that I am giving a demo for, I want to show it to the best ability that I can, like obviously I'm everybody's going to know and learn things differently, or gravitate to different types of piece of gear. And like there's always going to be somebody who knows a little bit more and a little bit less. So basically my goal is to make sure that I give the best showcase that I can, just so people can get an idea of what it is. And so that, like I do think about that. Like I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, like
it's correct. I mean, it is actually information that you give in, and it's to have a lot of people watching you, and it's really important that you give me the correct information. Do you find like yourself like in a different, like feeling different towards like being in front of the camera all the time, or just like all the time like being you, the person, in terms of like you were doing that before anyway, like for whether it was workshops or as an artist, but it's a different approach now. It's more on the media. How do you feel about that?
I've gotten a little more comfortable with it now, especially the whole like stay at home live streams. It was like like definitely like jump straight into the pool, there's no easing into it, which is fine. Like that's how I like to do most things anyway. So jumping in. But yeah, like I think that's really helped. Like I can be a little shy too, and yeah, like, and that's something I had to work on. Like not even before even working for Perfect Circuit. That's something I really had to work on, that I wanted to do for myself, which was like I really had a hard time like getting in front of people. Like it is like I used to have severe stage fright. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm just being honest, like so it was like like kind of just like taking that deep breath, even for shows, like performing by myself, and like even like from when I was a kid, like recitals, like I always had this like it's funny to say now I have stage fright, but I used to have like severe stage fright, and I think it's just like because people are rough on people, and like and but I think like doing the live streams, they've been going well. And like we've had a lot of regulars. I see a few that are even on this watching now, and it's like super supportive, like, and they're like genuinely like interested in the gear or hanging out, and that really helps, like that helps a lot. But yeah, so
I think it's something I just have to overcome. Like I still I get really stressed out before going on stage. It doesn't look like, but Jen can tell you that I'm the worst when I get like before playing. I'm like seriously really bad.
Yeah,
and still like
talk to me right now.
Yeah, no, it's not even like that. There's like different times. It's just like I can't drink any water because then I end up like going 15 times to the toilet, which is not even like physically normal. Like it's like just like my body betrayed me, or I get like I need to have like 200% of my brain focus on that, and even like that until like once I start playing, it's all gone. It's all good. It's fine. But I like doing. I don't know how I would do it. Like if I was in your position, honestly. So I do admire that a lot, and I guess it's completely different when you have to be in front of the camera. Right now, like you're actually doing that for yourself because you're at home. But it is very different than also when you like go to stage. So yeah, I'm glad you will get more comfortable with time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What is the best and the worst? I mean, I think this is very early to say, and you can answer or not.
What?
But what would you say that is the best and the worst side of your actual jobs in terms of your artistic representation? Like you as an artist, like do you have time for make your own music to keep up with your like stuff as an artist now that you have to do also like how do you manage to your artistic representation and the YouTuber side?
Now, I mean, I feel like so far it's been like good. Like I'm like, it's been a new journey, but so far I really like it. Like I've had a chance to like work on my stuff, and then also do the perfect circuit. And one thing that's really cool is because, it is like content and things like that, like there are some things where if I do, it's Trovarsi, and then there are things that like I do and it's Shonda, and that's, a different thing, which I'm totally cool with, and they are too. And so I think that it's been going really well. Like so far, everything is good. Yeah.
Very nice. And what are your future what are your future plans for your career, artistically speaking?
Oh, wait, I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Like as an artist, what are your future career plans? Wow.
I know, right? Wow. I feel like I'm in the middle of a evaluating my life right now. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that what happened was before when I was when we were working up to before all this started happening and things started falling into place. Like I started working for Perfect Circuit. I had shows lined up in Berlin and like in Prague and things were moving and then were halted, obviously for everyone. It's given me a little bit of a chance to kind of take a step back because I was like, like in that mode of like, I was just working, like, I need to get this done. I need to get this show ready, this, that. And I think in this time, like, I'm trying to take a moment to pause and like look at my setup, for example. And so I don't really know. I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but right now I'm like really just trying to, for example, do the perfect circuit, this content, being a content creator to YouTube, personality, like to be good at it and really like hone that in and really be a good service to Perfect Circuit and to the community, because I do believe in like being a part of the community. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they chose me to do this. And, so I think that it's definitely in line with what's happening with that. And with my music, I definitely want to perform. I don't know if I necessarily want to have like some big tour or anything like that. I did have like a small tour planned, but I think that I want to really take a look at where I'm playing and the gigs that I'm choosing. And not that I was choosing bad gigs or anything like that before.
No, I know, but it is.
But like, just like, what am I doing? Like, and just kind of take a step back and like, I don't know, like in general, like I have some releases. I've been releasing through this time. I have an EP coming out in July. I have a mix that's coming out, like, and some tracks on that mix for another label in June. So it's like I have been working on music and keeping that momentum with my releases and things like that. But as a performer, I want to take a moment and like, I think I want to take a different approach, and I think I need to take a little time to figure out what I want to shift around, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I guess everything happens for a reason too. And if this wouldn't have happened, then you wouldn't have had the time to focus on job right now, Perfect Circuit.
Right.
And
I really do like it. Like, that's the thing. Like, yeah.
And to step back and think, oh, actually, I can redirect my career this other way. Instead of just like go. And at the end, I think like things happen when they have to happen, as something that I got to learn with experience and good and bad.
Right.
But yeah, it is good also that you can focus 100% of your job right now and improve yourself, and it's also another experience for you. So that's really cool to hear. So are you releasing soon, and which label? That's actually the last music question. I'm also gonna like put here like your SoundCloud's maybe anyone
cool.
wants to listen to your music.
I am releasing the mix, and on that mix, I have a mashup, a remix, and a track out coming out on the mix. So basically, the mix is from a label called Slick Six. It's pronounced Slick Six, but it's SLC-6 is the label. And those releases are with Sean Kruda, which is a producer that I've been working with. And so it's just a mix of those new tracks and other tracks from that label. And that's coming out in the first week of June, I believe, first week of June. And then in July, Sean and I are releasing a small EP, but it's all live. It's a live EP on Aquila.
So cool.
And yeah, like it's kind of stemmed from, we played a show together on my birthday, and it was like a live hybrid. Like he had Ableton, a little bit of Tractor Ableton, but mostly Ableton, things that he wrote. And then I had my modular set up, and we're like, yeah, we should just record these tracks live. And so we literally we practiced, we played the show, and then we recorded the mix from, we have the mix of that night. So we're going to release the mix with the EP. So that's also going to be a mastered mix. And then the tracks, we're like, all right, let's just record them. Like, let's play them. And so we just did like one take. We're like, fuck it, that's it. Like,
I always do that. So.
That's the only thing I do. One other track just to see, and we ended up still going with the take one. So and so that's the EP. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, I really want to reassess my approach, and I like that whole hey, I love producing, using Ableton and producing, but I do want to put out more just straight up live tracks, live recorded tracks, master them, of course, so people can play them and do with them what they want, whatever. But yeah,
it is a different feeling though. I remember that the last time I did something on, actually it was Logic. Logic 9.
Hey, Logic's a great program.
I love it. No,
yeah, I still have it. I have Logic 10. I still have
it. Excuse me, I'm a super big, I love Logic until Logic 9, and that's how I learned, and I love it, and I find it really hard to switch to Ableton. Even had to do it, but since then I don't. Everything that I record is live recording.
Nice.
So at the same time, it is nice, and it's not that nice when a label asks you to release something and you're like, well, right. I don't know if I really want to spend so much time because it has on the stems, and this is different. I'm not against that. It's just I'm impossible. I don't have, my brain doesn't work that way.
Right.
So it is different though. And it's good to have that feeling that you actually, and it's also nice because you're mixing live. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that you have to do afterwards is just mastering it properly, mm-hmm. and then you're good to go. And it's that vibe of that feeling, of that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to hear that. Honestly, I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Thanks. Yeah. That. Yeah.
So, what kind of music are you listening right now in your spare time?
Techno.
It doesn't surprise me.
I mean, I do listen to a lot of other music, but I feel like I haven't had a lot of spare time lately. And house. I like house music too. What did you say?
What artist?
Oh,
tough question.
What happened? I know a lot of, what I've been listening to a lot of artists, not just techno in the sense of produced, let me rephrase, Beatport, let's buy tracks because they're, they have a certain structure and mix, whatever. I mean, I've been looking at a lot of Bandcamp artists, mm-hmm. and I've been doing that, Plural. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. I think he's from Ohio. He's probably the last one that I was really listening to just yesterday. So like a lot of Bandcamp, like a lot of artists on Bandcamp, so, and that's sort of like helping me like think like, God, I just want to release what I want to release because there's so much good music, and like I sat in watching Colorado did like on May 1st, they played like a bunch of different artists from Bandcamp. Like they did like a tribute, like a listening party. And I was watching them and I had one window open of like following, learning about these different artists. So yeah, so please forgive me if I don't remember all their names, but so that's sort of what I've been doing, is like just following up on people on Bandcamp and checking them out.
That's really nice.
A lot of good artists that are,
yeah, and it's a really nice platform to actually find people who is very talented and they're just releasing whatever they like, whatever they feel like and they want, and not forced to just being, like packed in, I have to do this because this label is like this.
Yeah. And that's what made me think too, because I was listening to these artists and there wasn't like, not all the tracks were necessarily like dance floor structured. And when I say that, I mean like, like a DJ
intro,
that 32 bars in, they make sure they can mix in there and just things like that. It was their music, however they wanted to put it out. And it was amazing. And that's what I've been thinking about. Like, I want to do more of that with some more releases coming out. So that's sort of where my head is at with where I'm going with things. So.
And what hobbies you have apart from music, if you have? Because I know people that don't.
Well, we bought new bikes. So
nice.
Yeah. So I just got a new bike, like a mountain bike. So we've like, slowly getting into that. I'm not going like 20 miles or anything like that. It's nice, like, to get out and step out of the studio and do that kind of stuff. Because there's a while there where I just was not, like, you know what I mean? Like you're saying, like, what else were people doing? And it was very much like learning gear, writing shows, writing tracks, like, so it's good to have this thing.
Spare time, that's really cool. And in the future, how do you see yourself? Like, would you like to stay in the industry, or would you like maybe to just change after a few years?
No, I definitely want to stay in the industry. Yeah, I feel like I've worked hard because I want to be in the industry. I had that double life, like working as a trial paralegal and dealing with that and trying to do music, juggle that. And, I feel very fortunate in my situation and that I'm able to focus and now be able to work in the industry. And I'm happy with that. Yeah.
That's nice. And last two questions. And if anybody wants to ask anything, just feel free. What is your favorite food and sweet?
Ooh, well, I love pasta.
Oh, of course.
Of course. I love pasta, and I guess, like, if I had to choose a favorite sweet, I would choose a lemon bar. And I have another one. And I really like strawberry cake, but not like real strawberries. It sounds terrible, right? Like, I don't know. I want that, like, the strawberry, like, moist, but I want it to be super moist.
Yeah.
With like a cream, like that cream cheese frosting.
Yeah.
And Brandy makes that for me. So
that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Okay, next
so
time
I try to choose like those two treats.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, next time we'll have that with each other if that can happen.
Yeah.
We'll have
you guys are always welcome here.
Pasta. Yes, I do. Yeah, we have a Star Wars date.
Yes.
Yes.
I know. Brandy's, we have tickets to go to that. There's like that some Star Wars convention or thing. It was supposed to happen in September. I assume it's probably going to be canceled, but
I think you sent me that. Like, you sent me something.
Yeah, like Brandy was like super like I had to wait for a while to get those. But like, so she's the true Star Wars fan with you, for sure.
I love you. I love you too.
I mean, I love Star Wars. I think it's great, but it's like you guys have a next level for it. Like yeah.
Yes.
Like if I had to bet my life on like a Trivial Pursuit game of Star Wars, like I would be cool. Like I would be okay. Like she would be able to handle it. Like
well, there is Joshua said, great interview. Thanks for this. Can't wait to check more about Trovarsi. And Mandy, thank you for checking on us. And thank you all of us, like Mandy and
thank you everyone for hanging out.
Yes.
You guys hanging out with us.
Yes. I hope you guys had a good time and enjoyed it. And I think that's it. Like, is there anything that you would like to say, or I don't know, just
no, other than keep making music and like just keep working on stuff. And to people out there, I'm sure some are home and maybe they don't have the go ahead, what were you saying?
I do have another, like the last and I promise.
Okay.
For someone, because you know how tough it is to work, like how hard you have to work to actually get in the industry, to get to finally achieve your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you recommend to someone who has the same passion and is dreaming about the same things, for example?
Ooh. Well, I would say like find, if it's producing or playing live or DJing or whatever it is, like just keep working on that and keep your eyes on your own paper. Like stay in your own lane. I can't, like, that would be like the number one thing. Like it's hard, like people, like you want to compare yourself or so-and-so's doing that and I didn't get there yet, but we don't see the other side of that. Like how many years maybe they've been working at it. It's just all of a sudden maybe they appear or something like that. And it's easy to get tripped up into what everyone else is doing. So I would just say, like, just focus on yourself and keep in your own lane and keep working on your things and focus on, if the more you focus on yourself and not on what other people are doing versus what you're not, like the more you'll be able to get accomplished and to try to work to meet your goals.
That is a great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone. Again, thank you, Shanda, for just...
You're welcome.
Yeah, for this. It's been also very inspiring and very cool to get to know you a bit better also, because there was a lot of things that I didn't know.
So great with you too.
Yeah. So yeah, then next week we have Fabian, who is also like a really close friend, and he works as a developer from Native Instruments.
Very cool.
So just all of you guys are also like welcome to join. And Shanda, seriously, bro.
Yeah, dude.
I wish you all the best. Like, you're doing a great job at Professor Kid, and I'm super happy for you. Like, I'm extremely happy. You deserve it all, for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, people, thank you very much, Padawans. May the force be with you, and have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.